What's happening, my beautiful financiers in training? Welcome back to another episode of the Do.Different.Better show, where we talk about wealth, wisdom, and money moves, making finance simple for everyday people. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen, CEO and founder of Social Impact Now, Connective Institute, and managing director of the Integrated Capital Fund. Thanks for joining me today. In our last episode, I gave you a 101 on investment apps, what they are, how to use them, and finding the right one that is for you and your needs. Today, we're going to be diving into something super important for your financial future: maximizing your 401k, your 403b, and IRA contributions. Whether you're just starting your career or really getting serious about retirement, understanding how to optimize these accounts can make a huge difference in your long term wealth. So, here's a quick fun fact to kick things off. Did you know that consistently maximizing your retirement contributions over 20 or 30 years could mean the difference of hundreds and thousands of dollars or even millions when you finally retire? Yeah, we're talking serious life changing numbers. So, today we're going to break down all these accounts, how they work. Maximizing your contributions is one of the smartest financial moves you can make. And almost everyone who has a job has access to this. Okay, but let's start with the basics. If you've been hearing people talk about 401ks and 403bs and IRAs, especially if you're a young person, you might be hearing these terms when you start a new job. They're like, hey, do you want to be a part of the 401k plan? And you have no idea. Some employers make it really give you a hard nudge to encourage you to do this, but they're legally not supposed to push you one way or the other. But sometimes when you're young, you have no idea what these things are. You may have never heard of them before. So that's another reason why we're going to really get into it today. If you're really not sure how they work or how each one of these different, this is the day for you to be listening to the show. This is the segment for you. So first, let's start off with 401ks. This is an employer sponsored retirement plan where you can make pre tax contributions straight from your paycheck. You're not even going to see it. It's going to be taken right off the top, even before taxes are taken out. The big deal here is that some employers offer a match, which means they're going to contribute additional money to your 401k based on how much you're putting in. So it's like getting a raise just for saving for your future, right? This isn't money that you have to pay back to the company, but some companies do have a requirement that you stay with the company a certain amount of time to receive the maximum amount of percentage of what they've matched, the matching dollars that they've put into your 401k. But we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Next up, let's talk about 403bs. It's really similar to a 401k, but it's specifically for people who work in nonprofits, in schools, or certain government entities. If you're in education or healthcare, you probably have access to a 403b instead of a 401k. They work the same. You contribute pre tax dollars, and sometimes, again, employers will match your contributions. Then what we have are IRAs, which stands for Individual Retirement Account. These are available to anyone and everyone, whether or not your employer offers a 401k or a 403b. There are two types of IRAs: traditional IRA and what's called a Roth IRA. You may have heard these talked about in the news or on television or in the background of your favorite finance show. A traditional IRA lets you contribute pre-tax money, and you'll pay taxes on that money when you withdraw it in retirement. So a Roth IRA, on the other hand, is funded with post-tax dollars. So your withdrawals are quasi tax-free when you retire. But really, it's not tax-free. You've just already paid the taxes already when you took in the income, whenever that income was received. Choosing between the two of these depends on whether you want your tax savings to grow now or you want them to grow later. All right, now that we've gone through the basics of definitions of each one of these, now let's talk about maximizing your contributions to these accounts because it is so important. So where things super good to start to get really super exciting. And that's the notion of compounded interest. Sometimes we hear that word bandied about and we really don't understand what that means. If you're not familiar with this concept, I'm going to break it down for you. Don't worry. Compound interest is where the interest on your saving earns interest over time. Your money starts to grow faster and faster. It's like a snowball rolling downhill and getting bigger as it picks up speed. The earlier and more you contribute to your retirement accounts, the bigger the snowball gets. Now, one of the most powerful ways to build wealth is through tax benefits. Both 401ks and 403bs allow you to contribute pre tax dollars, which reduces your taxable income for that year. Okay. The less money you have to pay in taxes now means more money for growing for your financial future. And if you're contributing to a Roth IRA, your withdrawals in retirement are going to be tax free. This means you don't have to worry about paying Uncle Sam on the money you've saved once you started enjoying those beach days in your golden years. Here's something I cannot stress enough, and that is the employee matching. If your employer offers a match on your 401k or your 403b, pretty please, with cherry on top, make sure you are contributing enough to take full advantage of it. It's literally free money that you do not have to pay back. For example, if your employer matches up to 5% of your salary, that means they're willing to give you an extra 5% on top of whatever you contribute. Not getting the full match is like leaving money on the table. And I don't want you to do that. And here's why this is so crucial: the power of time. The more you contribute now, the more your money grows through thanks to compounded interest. If you wait too long to start, you're going to have to save up a lot more money to catch up. So remember, we've talked about how much is the amount of money you're going to need to retire. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you retire when you get to be the government designated retirement age, whatever that is. And as you hear in the news, that age is being pushed out more and more and more. I remember when I was younger, the retirement age was 62. I believe it's now like 67, or it's on its way to being 67. So as you age, particularly for my young listeners, that age might relatively be 75, 77. So you really want to make sure that you're taking advantage of the time you have between now and then, whenever that is. Even if you are deciding to retire at 55, that's great. So what does that mean? And you want to make sure you're maximizing the amount of contributions, not only that you're putting in, but that all of your employers, because I imagine you might have more than one employer over that expansive time, that you're getting the maximum of each employer, no matter what the matching is, right? So let me hit you up with another fun fact. According to Fidelity, people who consistently max out their contributions are significantly more likely to retire as millionaires. So if you want to live that comfortable life in retirement, traveling, buying that vacation home, or even just relaxing without financial stress, maximizing your contributions now is the key. So here is my challenge to you. I want you to review your current contributions. Okay. Are you contributing enough to get your full employer match? Do you even know if your employer has a match? If you do not know any of the answers to these questions, write them all down. Write down all of the questions I'm asking. I'm going to give you some directions around that. Are you maxing out your 401k and 403b or your IRA contributions? If not, ask yourself why. Is it because right now you're trying to pay off debt and that's more important to you? That is very important. If you're maximizing the amount of money you have to be able to pay off that debt, great. But have a plan that, hey, I'm going to pay off this debt in 3 years. As soon as I hit that 3 years, I'm going to be throwing this maximum contribution to my 401k, my 403b, or my IRA accounts, right? But I want you to take the time to take that step to start contributing more. If you are not sure where to start or what your company offers, talk to your HR department. There is somebody whose whole job it is to answer these questions for you. And so I definitely encourage you to reach out to them and ask them, does the company do I have access to a 401k account or a 403b account? Does the company offer matching? If the company offers matching, at what level does the company offer matching? Is it 2%, 3%, 5%? I once worked for an organization that maxed out at 6%. So if I took 6% of my salary, right, they would match another 6%, right? That's getting 12%, and 6% of it is free. So just imagine that 6% over time. I think I shared in the first episode how I was able to take out $5,000 from my 401k account to go traveling. Now, mind you, to see a boy, but that's not the point. I had the 5,000 because it had accrued so quickly over the 4 years that I'd worked in the organization, because I was putting in the max contribution and they were matching my almost a dollar for dollar. Every dollar that I put in, they were matching, right? So once again, talk to your HR department, or if you have a financial advisor, make a plan to increase these contributions over time if you haven't started, or if you're having some other priorities right now before you want to max out your contributions. But make a plan. But even bumping up your contributions by 1% can make such a huge impact over time. And it doesn't have to be all at once. You can do small step ups, but they do add up over time. So once again, if you have some different priorities right now, maybe you're paying for your kids to go through college and you need the maximum amount of your money to go towards paying for that. Okay, but see if you can just squeak out 1%. You're probably not going to miss 1% over time. It might be a little owie at the first paychecks that you see, but after that, you will make adjustments. Or can you make adjustments in your lifestyle to be able to accommodate and maximize your contributions to your 401k, and thus the maximum contributions from the company, right? Okay. So that's it for this segment. In the next segment, we're going to go even deeper and talking about how can you maximize your contributions and optimize your retirement account. So I really want you to stay with me. Remember, this is all about making your money work for you, not the other way around. Thanks for listening to Do Different Better show. I'm your host. If you like what you're hearing, make sure that you subscribe, but don't forget to join me after the break when I show you how to do different better. Welcome back, my beautiful moguls in training. You are tuned into the Do Different Better show, where we simplify wealth, wisdom, and money moves for everyday people. I am your host, Elaine Rasmussen. So great to have you back. Okay, in our last segment, we talked about retirement accounts. So 401ks, 403bs, and IRAs, and maximizing your contributions to really grow your long-term financial stability and your financial wealth. So now we're really going to get more into the practical nitty-gritty. We're going to do a deep dive into how to do that. How can you set your contribution goals? How can you stay consistent even when life gets in the way? And what are the tax benefits for maximizing these contributions? So let's get into it. First, let's talk about setting goals. We all know saving for retirement is important. Duh. But the key is setting realistic, achievable goals that work for your financial situation. And everyone has a very different financial situation. Just to give you an example, a couple that has no children and it doesn't plan on having children has a different financial plan than maybe somebody who has two kids that are under the age of 5, which could be different than a single person who has one child over the age of 15. All three of those scenarios, these folks have different situations, life goals, things that have a high probability of happening in their home that they're going to need to to plan for. The people who have kids in their home might be wanting to put away a fund for college or some post high school education. So they want to make sure that they have money for that. Maybe somebody, a couple who have no plans of having children, really have a plan of once they hit a certain age, they want to travel the world or they want to be nomadic employees. So all of those are going to play a role into what does your financial picture need to be. So what you all want to do, whether it's your partner, your family, is really start assessing your financial picture. Take a look at your current income, your expenses, and other financial commitments, not only that you might have presently, but what you can anticipate in the future. I was having a conversation with somebody, and they were really struggling around this. And so, one of the suggestions that I said to them, it can be really hard to like plan a life 20 years in the future. So, think about your life in 5 year blocks. 5 year blocks, one is really clear to anticipate what might happen, right? So this person had 3 kids. Most of the children were under the age of 8. When you think about the next 5 year block, you're like, oh, I've got 2 kids who will be in high school. And when you think about the next block, oh, I'm going to have 1 kid in high school and 2 kids in college. It just gives you a really clear, crystal clear picture of like what could be the anticipated expenses that you may have to plan for. But you also want to strike a balance between contributing as much as you can to your retirement while still meeting your immediate needs. Like I said, maybe you're trying to pay off some debt. Maybe you're trying to pay off student loans. Totally understandable. And if you're feeling overwhelmed about the idea of maxing out your 401k or IRA, don't stress. We really want to focus on progress versus perfection. And here's a basic tip you can follow. Always contribute enough to get the employee match if your company offers one. That is free money. For example, if your employer offers a 5% match, make sure you're contributing at least 5% of your salary. It's an easy way to boost your savings without any extra effort. So I know when I was working, I got to a certain point in my compensation in my career, I would max out at 10% of my salary contributed to my 401k, but my company was only contributing 6%, right? So you can go over the max amount that your company contributes. That is fine. But once again, as I talked about, making sure that it makes sense for your current financial situation, right? If you're trying to pay off bills or if you're trying to buy a home, you have different situations so that you want to be prepared for that. But let's say you're already doing that. You're already maxing out the contribution that is going to be matched by your employer and you want to contribute more. A good strategy is to gradually increase your contributions by 1% every year, especially if you get a raise. If you get a raise, you definitely want to think about, well, that's money you didn't have before. So the whole idea is not to now raise your spending to match your raise, but what would it look like if you just took your whole raise and put it into your contributions of your retirement, right? In that instance, you won't even miss out on the 1% over time. And it will make a huge difference in your retirement savings. And you'll be able to see it in your statements month, quarter over quarter, year over year. Because what you're doing is you're maximizing the amount of money that's being invested that then has a return that is what's going to be your entire nest egg. But if you're feeling ambitious, you can even schedule these increments to increase and happen automatically, right? Most 401k plans allow you to set up automatic contribution increases, which makes it a lot easier to stay on track without even thinking about it, right? But as I've noted, consistency is the key. Whether you're contributing 5%, 1%, 10%, or even more, the important thing is to stay the course, stay steady, and increase over time. Small, steady contributions over decades are what make retirement dreams come true. All right. So now, I love math. I'm a freak in the spreadsheets. And so now let's talk numbers. Specifically, contribution limits for 2024. These limits are important to keep in mind so that you can maximize your saving without accidentally over contributing, right? So for 2024, the contribution limit for 401ks and 403bs is $22,000. If you're 50 years old or older, you can contribute an extra 7,500, which is called a catch-up contribution, bringing your total to $30,000. If you're contributing to an IRA, whether it's a traditional or a Roth IRA, I believe the limit is currently 6,500 with an extra $1,000 for those who are over 50, right? Now I get it. Maxing out your contributions might feel like out of reach, especially if you're juggling other financial goals, maybe purchasing a home, getting out of debt, and that's okay. Once again, I know I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. Consistency is more important than maxing out. Even if you can't hit the limit right away, contributing regularly, whether it's monthly, biweekly, or even every paycheck, will set you up for success. Plus, by contributing on a regular schedule, you can take advantage of some dollar cost averaging, which means you're buying more shares when prices are lower and fewer shares when prices are high, which can help smooth out market fluctuations. So if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, you're putting money into a 401k and you're pooling that money with all the other people that are in your employer's network, but you're also pooling that with a whole bunch of other employees and other company networks. That money is managed by a wealth advisor or investment advisor. That investment advisor is investing primarily in the stock market, right? So that's what I mean by every dollar you're putting in, you're maximizing the amount of dollars that are going to be bought, that are going to be purchased in what are called public equities. If you're not sure what public equities are, I did a whole episode on explaining public and private equities. But basically, public equities are the stock market. So typically in your 401k, they're investing some in the stock market, they're investing some in mutual funds, and other sorts of what are called fixed income assets, which really have a slow rate of return. But the whole idea is they're creating a portfolio, they're investing your money and every employee in the company's money, also other employees from other companies. All of that is being pulled into a fund that then makes up your 401k, right? So you have one sliver. Now, your sliver does not get given to somebody else. Your sliver is your sliver, and you get a statement that explains to you what your sliver is and how your sliver has grown over time, right? So I just wanted to walk through that because I don't think I explained that in the first segment of just like how a 401k works, who manages a 401k, and where the money comes from, and who is that money pooled with. So I hope that that was helpful. So back to the topic at hand. A quick tip is set up your automatic contributions for your 401k or Roth IRA so you don't even have to think about it. That way, you're consistently investing, rain or shine, without any extra effort. So now let's talk about one of my favorite things about maximizing contributions, the tax benefits. When you contribute to your 401k or a traditional IRA, you are putting away pre-tax money, which means you reduce your taxable income over the year. That's right. Saving for retirement can actually lower the amount of taxes you pay now. For example, let's say you're in the 22% tax bracket and you contribute $10,000 to your 401k. You could potentially save $2,200 in taxes. Over time, that extra money adds up and can be reinvested to grow your wealth. Now, let's not forget about Roth IRAs. They're a little bit different, remember? With a Roth IRA, you're contributing post-tax dollars, but the big benefit comes later when you withdraw the money in retirement. It is now tax-free. With your other accounts, your 401k, your 403b, and your traditional IRA, because you didn't pay taxes when the money was put into the account, you have to pay taxes when the money comes out. So once again, you want to look at your situation, what makes sense for you at the age that you are, the situation that you're looking, and the financial goals. This is why it gets really valuable and important to have a financial advisor, a certified financial planner, be a part of this journey with you. But I'm going to give you a real world example, just so I can highlight and the impact of maximizing your contribution. So let's take two individuals. One who maxes out their 401k contributions at $22,500 every year, and one who only contributes the minimum amount to get the employer match. Let's say that's $5,000 per year. Over the course of 30 years, assuming a 7% annual rate of return, which is on average what the stock market gives or any investing portfolio gives, it's about 7%. The person who maxes out could have close to $2 million at over that after 30 years, while the person who only contributes the minimum might end up with about $500,000. So as you can see, that's a $1.5 million difference, all because one person consistently maxed out their contributions, right? So I illustrate that to just say, obviously, like we just talked about, you might have a certain situation. You're not in a position to max out at this moment because you have some other things you need to take care of that are more pressing. But once again, even if it's 1%, 2%, 3%, start putting money contributions into these accounts, and over time, increase that contribution when you can, where you can. And if you can automatically set that up, that's even better. So the bottom line is every dollar you contribute now has the potential to multiply over time. Whether you're using a traditional account to reduce your taxes now or a Roth account to save on taxes later, the key is contributing and letting compound interest do its magic. Okay, I know I've thrown a lot of information at you, but here's what I want you to do. Okay, I want you to walk, not run to a retirement calculator to see how much you can save by maximizing your contributions, even if it's just by increasing it by 1%. And if you're not contributing at all, doing this exercise hopefully will get you to see how even 1% can make a huge difference over time. And once again, it doesn't have to be a massive leap. Small steps add over time because of compounded interest. There are some retirement calculators like online. Once again, you can go to your favorite web browser or your favorite search engine and just type in free retirement calculator. I'm sure you will get a list of them. And what you're going to do, it's going to typically ask you how old you are now. It'll ask you, it may ask you what age you would like to retire. It's going to ask you what your salary is. And then it's going to, it might ask you, how much are you putting in of your salary? What percentage are you putting in? Or what percentage are you planning on putting in? What's really nice about this is, hey, let's say you're not putting any contributions in right now. You put in, well, what if I did 1%? You'll be able to see what that looks like. And then, but I want you to keep going. I want you to see what 1% looks like over 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Then I want you to change it to 2%. And I want you to see what 2% looks like over 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And then I want you to do 3%. And I want you to see what that looks like over 5, 10, 20 years. The goal of this is so that you can start to understand by just making this small shift. And 1% is this, think about a 1% turn, right? That's a really small shift when you're thinking about 360 degrees, right? It's a really small shift. And so what I want you to be able to see what the financial impact of that is over time, because it can be significant. So you can really understand what does it look like for you to be able to retire well, no matter, once again, this is not assuming that you are going to retire at 65 or 70. Maybe your desire is to retire at 45. Great. What is it going to take to get there? What can you do now as far as your contributions go to be able to see what that really needs to look like, right? But I want you to walk, not run, to your web browser and look for a retirement calculator. Start calculating and seeing what could happen. What could it look like? Once again, it doesn't have to be a massive leap. It can be small steps. But I want you to just start looking at what that looks like over time. And once again, you don't have to set up automatic contributions, yet, but do something, right? Automation is one of the easiest ways for you to stay on track with your retirement goals without stressing over it month over month, particularly if you're at a certain age. Once you hit like 50 and you're still working and you're still planning on working, this might be a conversation that might create some anxiety for you. And I apologize. That's not my goal. My goal is for you to take some power back. You have agency over this. And once you start figuring out and start looking at these things, I hope that you'll start to feel more confident and comfortable, because at least you're not walking around in the dark anymore. You have some idea and you have some line of sight on like where you're going, what needs to happen, what can you do, what do you want to do, and what will be the path forward. So stay with me for the next segment. We're going to dive even a little deeper into the long-term benefits and tax saving strategies of maximizing your retirement contributions. Until then, you've got some homework, so start looking at your contributions. Talk to your HR professional or your financial advisor, and make a plan and figure out how you're going to increase them over time. I want you to get to work on building your financial wealth today. All right, folks, thanks for tuning into the Do Different Better show. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen. We've been talking about making money moves that are going to set you up for some long-term success. So don't forget to subscribe and leave a review, and share this episode with some of your fellow future retirees. But I want you to keep going and do different better. Catch us after the break. I can't wait to see you. What's happening, my financial stars? Welcome back to another segment of the Do Different Better show. We are breaking down wealth, wisdom, and money moves for everyday people. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen, and we're diving into our final segment of today's episode on maximizing your retirement contributions. So, by now, you know the importance of contributing to your 401k, 403b, and IRA, and how to set yourself up for long-term wealth. But in this segment, we're going to be taking it up a notch with some advanced strategies for high earners and some common mistakes that I want you to avoid. So buckle up. We're about to get into the nitty gritty of optimizing your retirement savings. And if you're ready to go, stick with me, okay? Let's kick off this segment by talking about some advanced strategies for high income earners out there. If you're making really good money and you're maxing out your contribution, so let me introduce you to the backdoor Roth IRA. The backdoor Roth IRA is a strategy for those who earn too much to contribute directly to the IRA. You're probably thinking, Elaine, how can I take advantage of a Roth IRA if my income is above the limit? Well, here's the hack. You can contribute to a traditional IRA, which doesn't have income limits for contributions, then convert it to a Roth IRA. This allows you to get around some of the income limits while still benefiting from the tax-free withdrawals in retirement. It's like having your cake and eat it too. Now, if you're really playing in the big leagues, there's also something called the mega backdoor Roth. This strategy lets you contribute after tax dollars to your 401k, then roll them over into a Roth IRA. High income earners love this strategy because it allows them to sock away even more tax advantage money. And I talked about tax advantage investment opportunities in another episode. So definitely go take a listen to that. Once you hit the big 5-0, you can contribute an extra $7,500 to your 401k. And I'm sorry, let me go back. The mega backdoor Roth IRA lets you contribute after tax dollars to your 401k, then roll them over into a Roth. So once again, this is really, really valuable and really, really important. Okay. And for those of you who are over 50, you can do catch-up contributions. So once you hit 50, you can contribute an extra $7,500 to your 401k and $1,000 more to your IRA. It's a really great way to supercharge your retirement savings when you're getting closer to the finish line. So, okay, you're saying, hey, Elaine, I now have done all of that, okay? Now that we've covered some advanced strategy, let's talk about what not to do. I want you to make sure you're not leaving money on the table, or worse, making mistakes that could hurt your financial future. So, mistake number one, not contributing enough to your full employer match. Listen, This is basically turning down free money. If your employer offers a match of 3, 4, 5, 6%, and you're only contributing 3, you're missing out on that additional 2% that somebody else is giving you. It's literally free cash that you could be growing to your account for years to come. So please, 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 please don't let this happen to you. Make sure you're contributing enough to take full advantage of the full match. Here's the other thing. So, one of the things that I didn't cover in the first segment, which would probably be really helpful, is like some of your parents might have pensions or you might have pensions. Well, pensions have gone away for most industries. There's some industries that still have a pension, but those are really going away. The 401k and 403b are these sort of plans that are meant to take the place of pensions, right? Now, I will just tell you, as somebody who has had a pension, has a partner who has pensions, they are not as lucrative. Pensions were much more lucrative than 401ks and 403bs, but 401ks and 403bs are still really great retirement financial tools that I implore every single person to employ, right? But I just wanted to, some of you might be asking me, well, why isn't she talking about pension? Pensions are really kind of a thing of the past. And actually, a lot of pensions, if you've already left the organization, the pension company or the holder of those funds are really wanting you to put those funds into some kind of 401k or retirement account. So even the pension funds are asking people to move their money out of the fund so that they are managed differently than how a pension fund is managed, right? So, mistake number 2, early withdrawals. I know life happens, but dipping into your retirement savings before you're 59 and a half comes with some serious consequences. Not only do you face the penalties, usually 10%, but you also have to pay taxes on that money. And some organizations or fund managers charge you a base price, like a base penalty or base tax rate. So I remember when I had to take out some money later in life for through another 401k. I had a situation that I needed to take care of, and I was taxed. That amount was taxed at 30%. Even though I was at a lower tax rate, they're not looking at what your typical tax rate is. They usually will take just a base amount, and then you reconcile that when you file your taxes, right? So once again, even though I wasn't at the 30% tax rate, 30% of the money was coming off the top. So if I needed to take $100,000 out of my retirement, 30,000 off the top was going to go to taxes. Another 10% is going to go to early withdrawal fees. And so now I'm really only sitting at maybe like 40, 45,000 out of the 100,000. So that's another reason why you don't want to do that. That's a double whammy that can set you back years in your retirement goals. But sometimes it's just absolutely necessary. So really think about the situation that you're in. Is taking your money from your retirement plan the best option? Maybe it's getting a loan and then paying that loan off, but maybe a loan isn't, maybe your credit's not in the best place right now. And so taking a loan is not an option, but just making sure that it's unless it's absolutely necessary, resist the temptation to tap into your retirement accounts early. There's just such severe penalties. And really those penalties are kind of to safeguard you, right? Protect you from yourself, so to speak. But sometimes things just can't be helped, right? And then finally, don't forget about those old 401ks. Most of us at this point aren't staying at a job for 20 or 30 years. You probably have switched jobs a few times, so it can be easy to leave an old 401k account scattered across different employers. Consider consolidating those accounts into a new plan, rolling them over into an IRA, which will make it easier to manage your retirement savings. Plus, if it helps you keep an eye on all your investments and ensures that you're not paying unnecessary fees for accounts that you've forgotten about. Typically, when you get a new job and that if that employer offers a 401k plan, typically they'll ask you, do you have a plan that you want to roll over to? Or if you're leaving an organization, they'll ask you, do you want to roll this over into another account? Right? You may be in between jobs. Maybe you were laid off. Maybe you were terminated. So you don't necessarily have the new 401k plan yet. You can leave it where it is. There's no penalty for leaving it where it is. But when you get your new job or your new role, at that point, once again, if the HR person doesn't offer that to you, ask them, say, hey, I have a 401k from my previous employer. I'd like to roll it into whatever the organization that is managing the 401k for this employer. I'd like to roll that over. And there's some paperwork that you're going to have to do for that. It's relatively straightforward. But once again, do not leave all of those opportunities out there. Plus, just don't leave 5 different IRA accounts or 401k accounts, because that's 5 accounts you're going to have to manage. That's 5 statements you're going to be receiving. It's just a lot easier to consolidate them, get one statement, and you know what's going on at all times, right? Now, it's time to get practical. I'm giving you 3 action steps I want you to follow today to make sure you're taking full advantage of these strategies. Action step number 1, if you're not already contributing enough to get the employer match, log into your retirement account. And a lot of them now, even for employers, access to your retirement account is available online, and make that adjustment. Seriously, please, please, please do not leave money on the table. Action step number 2, set up a meeting with your financial advisor. If you haven't already chosen a financial advisor, we have an episode on how to do that. So go back and listen to that episode, right? But they can help you optimize your retirement strategy and make sure you're on track with your goals. You want to be proactive about this and not reactive. Action step number 3, for high earners out there, explore the benefits of a Roth IRA or backdoor Roth if you haven't already. It's one of the best ways to set yourself up for tax-free income in retirement. Talk to your advisor about this option and see if it's right for you. And one more thing. If you have an old 401k floating around from a previous job, maybe it's not your most recent job, maybe it's 2 jobs ago, do yourself a favor and roll them into a new plan or an IRA. This way, you'll have everything you need in one place, making it easier to manage and maximize your growth. Now, you've got the knowledge. Now it's time to put it into action. Make sure those contribution changes, make sure that you're taking care of those contribution changes, automating them if you want to or need to, setting up that meeting with your advisor and or your HR department, right? Making sure, like I said, if you don't know what your company is offer, go talk to human resources. That is their job, is to answer those questions for you. But get yourself rolling. I don't care what age you are. I don't care if you're 19. I don't care if you're 25. I don't care if you're 35. I don't care if you're 55, right? There's no time to start like the present. This is the time to do it, okay? Remember, it is never too early, and it is definitely never too late to maximize your contributions and build the wealth that you deserve, okay? So I am so excited about this. Like, I cannot tell you, like, this whole conversation makes my heart beam, because I think it's one of the most underutilized tools. So many people work at a company and never participate in the 401k plan. I think there's some statistic about the number of people, I think it's at 20% of the number of people who don't participate in the 401k plan or retirement plan that is offered by the employer. So please, 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 I hope that you do this. Once again, for younger people, if you're listening to this, and I hope you are, please, 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 please go in and start doing this. It's never too early to start saving money, right? Okay. You've got the knowledge now. It's time to put the plan into action, start making those contributions, setting up that advisor, getting rolling and optimizing your retirement strategy. But just get going. I just wanted to get started. So thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Do.Different.Better show. We got knee deep into maximizing your 401k, 403bs, and IRA contributions to building your future wealth. I covered what they are, how they work, and why maximizing your contributions can add hundreds and thousands of dollars to your retirement fund. I discuss strategies to maximize contributions, setting realistic goals, and understanding contribution limits and avoiding some common mistakes, as well as the tips you need to make the most of your retirement. Join me next week for another action packed finance episode of tools, tips, and resources to understand employee stock options and how to make them work for you. Before you go, make sure you subscribe to this podcast and leave a review if you're loving what you're hearing. Let me know what you think of the show. We love comments. So tell us how the show has helped you. If there's a money or finance question you have, if there's somebody you want me to interview, hit me up on LinkedIn or Instagram at Do Better with Elaine. I'll see you next week when I show you how to do different better.